Do, 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 do. Right. Hello and welcome to the morning after, I suppose. The morning after the night before. It was a very, very strange night being a Tottenham fan last night. Beating Coventry 2-1 in the Carabao Cup in what was probably Tottenham's worst performance under Ange Postecoglou since he joined the club as head coach. I think every single one of us was probably sat there either scratching our heads or punching our pillows or just being absolutely frustrated at how Tottenham played last night. It was a calamity, really, and we were seconds from going out, and we were bailed out by a couple of substitutions that Ange made late on. Nevertheless, it does mean that Tottenham are into the next round of the Carabao Cup, thankfully. But boy, oh boy, did we make it hard work for ourselves. So I wanted to come live today, wanted to sort of just detox and talk things through and break the game down. I just, it was a hell of a night. It was a hell of a watch. And that's why I didn't put a video straight out after the game yesterday, because I was struggling to find the words to describe the Tottenham performance, because it was definitely the worst Tottenham have played so far this season. Probably the worst we've played under Ange Postecoglou, and there was so much wrong about the performance. The changes, what was it, 7 changes, 8 changes, just weren't needed in the game. Look, I know we have 3 or 4 games in the space of 9 or 10 days, but we're 4 games into the new season. Ange knew that Tottenham had to win that game against Coventry yesterday. If Tottenham had lost last night against Coventry and gone out, then he would have lost a huge chunk of the fan base. I'm not personally Ange out. Even if we'd lost last night, I wouldn't be advocating to sack the manager, because I'm fully of the belief of, just what's the point? What is the point in sacking the manager, because we do it over and over again and it's the same conclusion over and over again. So for me, Ange shouldn't really be going anywhere at this point in time. However, if Tottenham had been knocked out of the Carabao Cup at the first attempt again under Ange in his second season, I could completely understand why so many people would be sitting here saying, I've had enough of him, I want him gone, I want him to go. Because, every year we say it. Every year we say how desperate we are to win a trophy, how desperate we are to do well in the cup competitions. And then he makes all of those changes and we put in a performance like that. And we were so fortunate to go through. I'm so shocked that it didn't at least go to penalties. And we probably would have lost on penalties, because we all saw what happened with Fraser Forster in the penalty shootout against Fulham last season. I just, I cannot believe it. I like Ben Davies as a bloke, and he's been a brilliant servant to Tottenham over the last 10 or 12 years, or however long it's been. Fraser Forster is obviously an experienced head in the dressing room for Tottenham, but without sounding too harsh, these players have no business playing for Tottenham and starting games for Tottenham. Fraser Forster is just... He is not of the required standard. Goalkeepers don't need the rest. He put Forster in purely for rotation. Forster's 36. He hadn't played a game of football in a year. He's come back from a big injury late in his career. He's not match fit. He's clearly not as sharp as he needs to be. And he sticks him in anyway. The same can be said of Ben Davies. He hasn't really played for us at all this season. He's probably not at the level now, 31 years old. Is there any point? And Timo Werner, every time we watch him play, we get, I guess, more and more confused as to why and how we extended that loan deal. And we even have an option to buy him at the end of it. He was dreadful. By far Tottenham's worst player on the night. And he went off injured. Obviously, I'm not going to wish that the injury is a bad one for him, because I don't want it to be. I want him to be healthy, and if he's enjoying his time at the club, fine. But oh man, he is not good. He's not good. The rest of the changes I'm not too upset about. Archie Gray at right back, okay, fine. Probably should have played in central midfield. I don't know whether Bentancur needed to do 90 minutes in that sixth row again. Dragusin, fine, coming back. Lucas Bergwall, Papsar playing fine. Odegaard playing. Obviously gets injured early into the game, which is just another disappointing thing to take away from the game yesterday, is that it looks like we've lost Odegaard for a long period of time. So, that winger that we spent all summer trying to nail down and get through the door has played like 2 games for us. And now it looks like he's going to be injured, now out for injury for a good couple of weeks at least. So, yeah, I struggle to sort of sit here and be too positive about things, because at the end of the day, we won. We won the game. We went through. We'll find out next week who our opponents are. I mean, watch us get like Arsenal or Liverpool or City away or something, just to make all of that pain and the struggle just not worth it, because just whatever. But, ultimately, we did get the job done. The late substitutions, Kulusevski, Maddison, Son, obviously all played their part in that. However, I really hope, I said it last year as well against Fulham, though, I really hope Ange uses that as a lesson. He can't be starting some of those players. He can't be making that many changes in a competition that I know that he wants to win. Every Tottenham fan wants to win it as well. He sits there and says that he wins titles in his second season at every club he goes to. Okay, but making those rotations, you were just asking for trouble. Completely asking for trouble. What do you think about Ange inverting his fullbacks and sending his winger on a touchline instead of deploying fullbacks and keeping his wingers in the half spaces as inside forwards? I mean, it's a difficult one, Sam, because Ange has always played with those inverted fullbacks, and I think a lot of modern managers do that as well now. You look at how the likes of Pep Guardiola sets up. I think it's just the modern way of playing, and personally, I do actually think both Pedro Porro and Destiny Udogie work as inverted fullbacks when they're going forward. But yesterday, it was a bit more of a struggle. I just think Udogie was probably our best player in the first half, and then he gets taken off. So hopefully that means that he's not injured and that he was just protecting him for the weekend. Obviously Brentford on Saturday, but we missed Pedro Porro at right back yesterday and playing that role that he usually does. Archie Gray, I don't think had a bad game at all. I think he was a good player. He had a good game, but I just question whether right back is the position for him. I'm just wondering whether he should have been played in central midfield instead. I don't think Pat Matasar had the best game. Jed Spence came on and was really good. I mean, as Nicola's saying there, Spence saved Ange's skin. The one he left out of the Europa League squad. Yeah, Spence came on and he was excellent. Obviously, I think he was a little bit at fault for the goal that Coventry scored, not staying with his man, but he did make up with it with the goal that he scored and playing at left back. I thought he was really, really good. So it's sort of hit and miss, but I think Jed Spence should have started at right back for sure. But coming back to your point, Tan, about the wingers. The wingers ones is really, really difficult, because I don't think the positioning of the wingers is the problem. I think the problem we have with our wingers is that they don't have the quality to deliver in the final third. I'm absolutely delighted for Brennan Johnson and his goal and what happened yesterday. Absolutely delighted for him. He deserves it. He deserves the goal. He deserves to be that match winner, and I really hope it's a key sort of boost for him going into the rest of the season. But it's just, how many times did we see the wingers fail to find Solanke in the box yesterday? How many times did we see us pass to no one in the final third and overplay our passes and just lose the ball in areas that we shouldn't be? I think that's our main issue. And as a result, Solanke barely got on the ball. He had to try and drop deep to get on it a little bit more. Struggled a little bit, perhaps, again yesterday. I'm not going to put too much hate on him. But yeah, it was just a strange night and a really, really painful watch. But I want to dive into it because I want to dissect what actually went wrong. Was it just an off night for most of these players? Or was it a really, really sort of bad setup from Ange, and were the tactics wrong, and was it purely because of a lineup that he went with? I think it's probably a mixture of both. I mean, we look at the lineup here Fraser Forster shouldn't be starting. Destiny Udogie had no problem with him starting. I thought he did well in the 45 minutes that he played. Perhaps a couple of loose touches and didn't sort of gallop along that left-hand side as much as he usually does. I mean, Ben Davies and Dragusin at centre-back, fine. I was a bit disappointed that we didn't even have Van der Ven on the bench because, I mean, Ben Davies was getting caught in behind so many times throughout the game. I know he nearly scored that header at the end, which is that shot on target there. But yeah, just crazy. I don't think Dragusin had the best game. I don't think Dragusin had the best game at all. He was sloppy. He was sloppy. I don't know if that's a lack of match sharpness and match fitness, but I really, really don't think he had a very good game for us. Yeah, I think he struggled in his duels and his battles. And bear in mind, we were playing a championship team. I think, yeah, it was just an off night for him. We got bailed out by 2 championship players, so it's only right they saved during the championship level fixture. Yeah, fair. I'm not going to defend the performance. It was really bad. Gray should be playing midfield. What do you think about possible 3-5-2 formation? Do you think a change of formation would make us a more fluid team? Well, it depends really, because I'm gonna. What would you do, assuming that you would move Sonny into that striker role next to Solanke and play those 2 as the top? What would you go? Would you go Van der Ven, Romero, Dragusin as the centre backs, Udogie, Porro as the wing backs, and then midfield of perhaps Kulusevski, Basuma, and Maddison, or Bentancur in there as well for one of them? It's very difficult. I think once you move to a 3 at the back formation, it's very difficult to find that balance in midfield, because then all of a sudden you're changing away from the inverted fullback. So Udogie and Porro all of a sudden are sticking out wide, because the whole point of playing a 3 at the back is that the 2 in front of them on the wide areas stay out wide, and Udogie and Porro really don't do that under Ange's system. The midfield, I guess you could control by having 3 in there still, and it's just whether having Son up top with Solanke would help him or hinder him. Taking up that space, it really, really depends. So I wouldn't be against seeing it for a game and seeing how it goes, but I think me and you both know that it's not going to happen. I think me and you both know that Ange is very tried and tested in his ways, and he's very adamant on playing a particular way in a particular formation with a particular style. So yeah, I mean, I think that's my answer on that. Archie Gray played well, I think, particularly in the second half. I think he was a bit more attacking in the second half, which was better for him. You see some of his stats there: 49 out of 54 accurate passes, 71 touches, 4 out of 5 accurate long balls. He started playing those more in the second half, which I think was really good. Apologies if you can hear some background noise, by the way. My dishwasher's on and it is just draining, so it's really loud. Lucas Bergvall was taken off in the second half, and I think it was a little bit harsh. I think he had a relatively good game. He was at least trying to make things happen. I think that him trying to make that happen didn't necessarily work in the way that he was looking for, and as a result, he maybe lost the ball a couple of times where he shouldn't have done. I mean, you can see he didn't misplace too many passes, 47 touches, 1 out of 2 successful dribbles. This is the big issue with our players here, right? 1 out of 5 accurate crosses. Bear in mind this is midfield. Let's go through them, shall we? Any crosses? Accurate crosses, 0 out of 1. Timo Werner, accurate crosses, 0 out of 3. Wilson Odobert, accurate crosses. I don't think he stayed on long enough to have any crosses. Pat Matassar, accurate crosses, 0 out of 1. Lucas Bergvall we looked at. Brennan Johnson, accurate crosses, 1 out of 4. Who else came on? And perhaps Dejan Kulusevski, accurate crosses, 0 out of 1. James Maddison, accurate crosses, 0 out of 1. Heung-min Son, accurate crosses, doesn't look like he attempted any. Can you see the problem? Can you see the problem? What was that, like 15, 20 crosses I just read out, and I think 3 successful. That is just, like, insane. Insane to me. I cannot believe how poor we are in the final third when it comes to that. How does it make you feel when manager is stubborn and won't change even though your tactics got figured out almost a year ago? It's not. I don't necessarily think that he has been found out. I think he's being let down. I think he's being let down by a lot of the players on the pitch at the moment. It's not. But the thing is, and I get where you're coming from, and I get where you're coming from as well, Nicola. It's like I've just read out there. He can put the players on the pitch and he can instruct them. But at the end of the day, these players aren't providing the quality in the final third. They're not putting in accurate crosses for Solanke to be able to get on the end of. No one is shooting from outside of the box. I don't know whether that's a tactic thing or it's just we're not doing it. You know, there are certain things obviously that the manager can do better and could have done better yesterday in terms of, you know, he made one change at half time and that was bringing Jed Spence on, waited until the 62nd minute to bring on Maddison and Son, and then we conceded straight away. You know, it's such a fine, it's fine margins, and it's a bit of both. I think while we can easily sit here and blame the manager, I don't necessarily think it's all down to him. But, you know, Footmob saying Bentancur was player of the match. 3 out of 3 tackles won. 1 out of 1 successful long balls. 86 touches, so he was very heavily involved, which is good for him. Pat Matassar didn't do too much. I mean, I talk about shooting from outside of the box. You can see that. And, yeah, it's crazy. But obviously, Wilson Odobert got through 18 minutes. 18 minutes before being taken off, which is a huge shame. Huge shame. I'm going to assume that we will hopefully find out the extent of his injury tomorrow when Ange does his press conference. But he said after the game yesterday that he does think it is significant. So it looks like we're going to be down a winger, and it probably means that Timo Werner's going to be getting a lot more minutes. You know, Mikey Moore, I think, should have come on yesterday for some minutes. I would have played him, and I probably would have started him instead of Timo Werner, if I'm being perfectly honest with you. But yeah, poor for him, bless him. Timo Werner, where do we start? Where do we start with Timo? 26 out of 31 accurate passes. 0 out of 3 successful dribbles, 0 out of 3 successful crosses, 0 tackles, 0 ground duels won. When one of his attacking... Did he have any shots? Yeah, 0 shots on target. Timo, man. I cannot see a world in which he stays beyond the end of this season, even if it is a, you know, dirt cheap price that we want to buy him for. He's not at the level. He's not at the level, bless him. And I actually think he's a really nice bloke, as a lot of the players in our squad are, but he is not at the level. And then Solanke was hooked in the 62nd minute as well, which I think summed up his game pretty much. You know, 9 out of 11 passes, only touched the ball 24 times, 1 out of 2 successful dribbles. He had to do some defensive actions, 8 defensive actions, which tells you how little of the ball he had in the final third from our perspective. Did he even have a shot? I can't even see a shot on these stats, which tells me that he probably didn't even have a shot. So just in my opinion, what a night. What a night. The players off the bench, Brennan Johnson. I mean, we can talk about Brennan Johnson because he was good, I think. Good enough when he came on. Good enough. It's really sad to see what's been happening to Brennan over the last couple of days, being forced to deactivate his Instagram account, being off social media. And you could see, I've got a clip of it in a second, but you could see in his face when he was going over towards the fans yesterday after the game, he just looked sad. He just looked sad. I mean, look, he's 23. He's 23 years old, and I'm so delighted for him to be able to come on and score the winner like that. So, you know, I really hope that it does wonders for him, and I really hope it helps him kickstart his season. At the end of the day, the job was done, and if we can do it all season long, then we'll get a trophy. Yeah, absolutely, but you know, we nearly fell at the first hurdle against a championship team, so when we inevitably start coming up against Premier League teams, can he afford to make those changes and rotate the squad like that? I think if he does, then we'll go out, unfortunately. You know, I want to win a trophy as much as all of you guys, but we have to be realistic as well, I think. Yeah, I really, really do. Matthew, how's it going, man? Timo can't play anymore. Did decent last year, but isn't clicking this season. It looks done. Yeah, he just looks miles off it. Absolutely miles off it. He isn't the answer, and he's not going to give us any quality, I don't think. So yeah, we have to find a solution to that. Mikey Moore should definitely be starting ahead of him. Moore needs more minutes. Absolutely agree with all of those points. I actually thought James Maddison did really, really well when he came on yesterday as well. I think for anyone who doubts James Maddison and questions him and questions the role that he plays for Tottenham, take a look at his performance yesterday. He makes us tick. He gives us control over the game because we didn't have it before he came on, and he was good. He was good. You know, I know he only had one shot, but got stuck in 20 passes, created 2 chances. And, you know, 29 touches, 3 in the opposition box. So he had a lot more than some of the players that actually started in the game. So fair play to James. Hopefully the goals start coming for him soon. And this man as well, Dejan Kulusevski. What a player. I tweeted about it. And again, I'll show you some bits in a few minutes. But Dejan Kulusevski came on and he was amazing. Absolutely amazing. He has to be starting every game for us. He looks so much fitter, so much sharper, and just on another level when it comes to the quality on the pitch to everyone else in the Tottenham shirt. And yeah, obviously pretty instrumental in the equalising goal, setting up Jed Spence. Just rides challenges so well, does so much right. So hopefully he can stay in this form and really, really. I know that stat 1 out of 8 accurate passes, but he was just trying to play the risky balls, play the dangerous passes, and I have absolutely no problem with that at all. Yeah, I agree and appreciate the kind words. Appreciate the kind words. I don't want to butcher your name, so I won't say it out loud. But yeah, I agree that Decky is better than Madders. We need to just we need to make sure we're focusing all of our play and a lot of our attacking sort of moments through Kulusevski, because he is that guy. And Sonny did okay when he came on. Just you know what you're going to get with Sonny at this point, and he brought it when he came on yesterday. And look, as Stitchy Angel has said in the chat, at the end of the day, we got the job done. We got the job done. We won the game. We're through to the next round of the Carabao Cup. And wins can change your season. Wins can change your season. And hopefully we can use it as a bit of momentum. We really, really needed to win that game after what happened on Sunday against Arsenal. Bokai Zhang, is that right? I say it. There you go. But yeah, appreciate your support, man. And yeah, it's... This for me is a concern because, you know, 74% possession in the first half against Coventry, right? But we didn't have a single shot. A lot of the teams we're going to play across the Premier League, across the Europa League, across the Carabao Cup, across the FA Cup, they know that Ange Postecoglou and Tottenham love to dominate possession, and all they're going to do is sit in. All they're going to do is sit in behind the ball because they're going to look at this. They're going to look at this stat. 74% possession in the first half, but we didn't create anything. We didn't have a single shot. Not even a shot on target. It's not even like we didn't have a shot on target. We didn't have a shot. And there are a lot of reasons for it. mainly the one yesterday being is we didn't have our chief creators on the pitch, so I'm not really sure what we expected. Spamming it out to the wingers and then not finding who we're intending to in the box. But teams are just going to do this against us. We've got Karabag in the Cup next week, in the Europa League rather, at home, which I'm going to, by the way. So I'm going to try doing a little vlog for that game. So keep an eye on the channel for that. We'll see how it goes. And it was just a whole lot of nothing. It's so weird because we've gone through so many different styles of play in the last few years. We've gone through the Mourinho and Conte having less of the ball, but being so lethal and dangerous on the counter-attack. We've gone through the Nuno, who was, I guess, a little bit similar to Ange and just not really having too much in the final third, but it's a big problem for us. And we can't shy away and pretend like we haven't just spent £65 million on a new striker this summer. And Solanke will come good. I'm convinced of it. He just needs a few games to get up to scratch. But he's not going to be able to get up to that level if we can't find him. He can only do so much. If the players around him aren't good enough to be able to find him in the positions that he gets himself into, he's not going to score goals. He's not going to score goals. And it's a big problem. It's a big problem. But, you know, it is what it is. And the good thing is, and I think Ange said it in his presser last night again as well, we're only 4 games into the season. You can't write anyone off at this stage because there's a lot of games left to play. But yeah, watching that game, I got PTSD from the Nuno era. Don't remind me of the Nuno era. That was painful. We should just stick with Ange and see his plan through instead of starting a new project. Yeah, exactly. That is exactly why I cannot sit here and beat Ange out, because what's the point in starting again? There is none. Most of the time, I like watching the way we play under Ange, and yesterday was just a bit of an exception to that. So we need to relax. But Ange is creating himself problems. He's creating himself problems by doing things like he did yesterday. And now, every time we lose a game, the pressure on him is going to mount and mount and mount. So he has to deliver. And he is a fighter. He talks the talk in the press conferences, and hopefully he does back it up. He hopefully starts to back it up here. We get to the corner of the box and pass backwards, or we get to the end and no one has taken risks. Matthew, my point, it's a good point here, right? And something I want to highlight is, obviously, for those of you that watched the game on Sky Sports yesterday, you will have seen the highlights from the Brighton Wolves games as they went in. And what you probably would have noticed is that you could see teams like Brighton, they will just shoot from the edge of the box. And I think they scored 2 of their goals yesterday from outside of the box. We don't do that. And I think it's been a big problem for a while. And I don't know why. I don't know why we are so insistent on walking the ball into the back of a net. I don't understand that at all, because we have players that can strike the ball well. I know Pat Matasar can score from distance. Basuma's done it a couple of times. James Maddison scored screamers against us when he was playing for Leicester from outside of the box, but he doesn't seem to have the confidence to take on the shot. And I'm not sure if that's a tactics thing, or if it's just the way that teams set up behind the ball that we just don't have the space to do it. Just shoot. It could get a deflection. It could fly into a top corner. A keeper might spill it. Anything could happen. And that's what I miss so much about having Harry Kane in the team, is, you know, with Harry, if he's got the space, even if it's from 30 yards, he will shoot. Most of the time he'll hit the target, at least. But we lack that. We lack that at the moment. And we need to change it. We really need to change it. I think he will bring us glory. I think next season we'll win something. But let's say we do get rid of him, who can we even bring in that's better? Yeah, see, again, that's the other thing. It's like, you know, I've seen people saying Thomas Tuchel. I've seen people saying Xavi, the ex-Barcelona manager. If Poch hadn't have just signed with the USA as their head coach, people would have been saying him. But stick with Ange. Stick with Ange. It's the second season. It's the second season. How many years did it take for Mikel Arteta to get a tune out of Arsenal? I think it took 3. That's being kind. That's being kind. for Arsenal to start being good again. And then saying what performance we're going to smash Brentford and Man U. Yeah, look, it's a difficult one to tell, isn't it? Because the likes of Romero and Van der Ven and Porro and Maddison, Kulusevski and Son, they'll all be starting on Saturday. So it's difficult to say how the games at the weekend and against Manchester United go. I don't think Manchester United are that good, if I'm being honest with you. And I actually think I'm more worried about what Brentford might do to us at the weekend, although a lot of that depends on their fitness issues, and I think Wissa might be injured. So yeah, very, very interesting one. But yeah, bless him. Look at this video of Brennan Johnson. You can see it on his face. He's so hesitant to go over to the fans and engage with them at the moment. And I think he walks over there, he claps for like 2 or 3 seconds, and then he just turns around and walks away. And I really, really hope that his confidence goes up after the performance he put in yesterday. I'm not saying that he was amazing. I'm not saying that he was a world beater. But bless him, he looks so demoralised. He scored and he barely celebrated. He's just scored the winner late on with seconds left in the game. And he's barely celebrated. And that is because of the abuse that he's been getting on social media, bless him. And I like him. I've been very vocal in saying that I don't think Brennan Johnson should be starting for Tottenham. I'm not sure he's at the level yet. But he will have to start now, because I think Kulusevski has to start in a central role because of how good he is and how influential he is for us at the moment. And with Odegaard injured, he would have been the player that I would have brought in to replace him, to replace Brennan Johnson on that wing. Obviously, I'd start Brennan over Timo Werner, so Brennan Johnson is going to have to start for us now. So whether we like it or not, we're going to have to fully get behind him and support him. It's the only way that he's going to prove. He is 100% a confidence player. 100% a confidence player. And I hope that he kicks on. I hope that he kicks on, because this is sad. These are sad scenes. You've got the captain with his arm around him, trying to get him to go over to the fans and for them to show some appreciation. And I'm sure the fans in the stand did show him some appreciation. But yeah, it's just, bless him. The players need to shoot. The players need to shoot like against Arsenal. I think if we just took our chances, could have won that match 2 or 3-1. Yeah, which was so frustrating against Arsenal, because it was a bit of a snatch and grab job from them in the end. It's really like when there's a shooting chance, the pause button is pressed and it only counts for Spurs players. Johnson needs a break and has to get some motivation, not just criticism. He has really high ceiling. He just has to get out of confidence and be emotionally strong. Yeah, Ange loves him, doesn't he? Ange absolutely loves Brennan Johnson. So yeah, he'll be sticking around, and we have to get behind him. These two, quick shout out to them because they were excellent. Lolo and Decky. Bentancur, I'm very mixed in my opinions of Rodrigo Bentancur, because I do think Basuma plays in that position and plays in that role well and better than Bentancur, but I think he did enough yesterday to earn some praise. Although he did give the ball away in dangerous positions a couple of times, and we've already spoken about Kulusevski. Just a brilliant cameo, brilliant performance, and hopefully he keeps that up. I laughed at this when I saw it. When I was scrolling through earlier, I laughed at this. That is the first time we have won a Carabao Cup match since 2021, which is just... And I was sat there and I was thinking, really? But obviously, 2023 last year we lost to Fulham. 2022, I think we lost to Chelsea in the semi-finals. So yeah, 2021. Absolutely insane. Bergvall and Gray also need more minutes in the bigger games because they will become deadly. Absolutely, 100%. Archie Gray, I want to see Archie Gray in that number 6 role. I want to see him where Bentancur played yesterday, if I'm being perfectly honest. As Matthew's saying there, hopefully we have Biss back for the weekend. I hope so. If not Gray as the 6, 100% for me, I'd love to see him there. I don't think he necessarily plays as a right back how Ange would want him to play. So yeah, it's very interesting. It's a bit of a headache for Ange, I'd say that one. But I can't imagine. Unfortunately, I can't imagine Gray will play in that number 6 role at the weekend. If Basuma is injured, I think Bentancur will probably retain his place there. But Bergvall, I agree, needs a few more minutes, especially off the bench in Premier League games as well, for sure. Many new Deadwood players to clear once Ange decides to leave. I'm not sure about that. I'm not too sure. Yeah, but there is lots of potential. What's this? Jed Spence. Should we talk about Jed Spence? I am baffled as to how he's not been getting more game time. It's not just me, right? We all sat here during pre-season. And watched Jed Spence. And we all agreed that Jed Spence was one of our best players in pre-season. He looked sharp. He looked focused. He looked determined to make an impact for Tottenham finally. So when he was then left out of the Europa League squad, we were all a bit baffled, I think. We were all just a bit confused. And then he comes on yesterday for the second half, and I thought he was excellent. So it brings me back round to the question, why didn't he start? Is it purely because Ange just doesn't want to play Gray in that number 6 role? Because I think Gray would have been good enough to start in there and play. Oh, something's going on with my camera. Bear with me, guys. Hopefully you can still hear me. There we go. Oh no. There we go. Sorry. Froze for a second there. Yeah, so it confused me. It confused me for why he didn't start. 45 minutes played. Obviously scored the equaliser. Took it really, really well. 26 out of 28 passes completed. 1 chance created. 2 out of 2 tackles won. 2 clearances. 2 headed clearances. 2 ball recoveries. And 0 fouls committed. He's good. Do you know what? He's good enough to... Hear me out here. He is good enough to play for Pedro Porro when Pedro Porro needs a rest at right back. Because he has the attacking ability similar to Pedro Porro, similar to Destiny Udogie on the left, that I think Ange really likes. And hopefully his cameo against Coventry last night is a bit of a kick up the backside for Ange to say, okay, right, you deserve more minutes. And I mean, the game against Qarabag next week in the Europa League would be the perfect opportunity to start him. So I'm confused as to why he wasn't included in that squad. Unless, does he need to be registered? I don't even know how old he is, but yeah, very interesting. They have access to elite coaches, datas, experts, psychologists, etc., and have those measures to judge performance. Yeah, of course. Of course, at the end of the day, we're just, fans, and we're sitting here giving our opinions on things. I know a lot of research and stuff goes on behind the scenes based on each player and their performance and how well they're playing. So, yeah, it's one of those. But I was about to say unpopular opinion, but I don't actually think this is an unpopular opinion. Would we agree that Kulusevski has been Tottenham's best player so far this season? He's not always been the biggest fan, but he's upped his game, become much bigger and threat through the middle. With Kulusevski, he's always sort of sat there and said, my best position is through the middle. So, unsurprisingly, we probably haven't seen the best of him out on the right wing, but now I think there's probably scope for him to play in that central midfield alongside Maddison, and that's a good combination, if I'm being honest. It's unprofessional to allow someone to be affected by fans emoting on social media. Yeah, I mean, it's a very interesting argument because on the one hand, players shouldn't have to be subject to abuse on social media. Brennan Johnson shouldn't have to go on his Instagram comments and have people hurling hate at him. But at the same time, I think if I was a professional football player, in his position, I wouldn't have social media, or I would have comments turned off on my posts because I just don't see the benefit of it. I wouldn't see the benefit of it when you're so in the public eye and so open to criticism if you put in a bad performance. For me, it's just not. It wouldn't be worth it. I'd have the social media pages probably still, but I wouldn't be allowing any comments on anything at all. If we run out of wingers in games that we're confident in, I honestly think we should move Porro to right wing and Spence in his place. Do you know what? It's weird. I've seen a lot of people suggest that Pedro Porro could play at right wing. Do you know what it is for me? I don't have any doubts about Pedro Porro's quality. We know that he can shoot and score. We know that he can put decent crosses in. He's good on the ball. I think my issue with Pedro Porro, perhaps in a right wing area, is I'm not sure on his ability to be able to perhaps take players on, and I'm not sure on his dribbling ability, which is a big hindrance if you're playing in that sort of wide winger role. You need to be able to take your man on, and that's what a lot of us like so much about Wilson Odobert, his ability to do that. So yeah, it might happen at one point. We might see Pedro Porro in more of a right wing role. Who knows? But yeah, I agree on the point about Jed Spence. For me, has to be getting more minutes. Has to be playing. Because I think he's good enough. I definitely think he's good enough. Kulu is our best player at the moment for sure. No social media or have a professional handle it. Agree. 100% agree on that. This was my point on Brennan Johnson yesterday. I just said it would have been so easy for him to miss that goal at the end. It would have been so easy. With the abuse that he's been getting, with the criticism that he's been getting, going through one-on-one, for him to then be able to lift the ball over the goalkeeper and put in a finish the way that he did was brilliant. Really, really brilliant. So, yeah, for me, I'm just delighted for him. I'm so happy for him. So happy for him. He's 23 and some people have childhood trauma or problems, so I think he might just care too much. But I understand caring about what people say, so it's something that he has to work out, but it's human. Yeah, for sure. For sure it's human. Yeah, everyone, ultimately, if you read things about... If you searched your name on Twitter, if you were famous, and you read some of the things that people were saying about you being nasty, then it would have... Of course it would have an impact on you. I mean... I'm not not trying to big myself up or be big-headed or something, but people say stuff about me on X, on social media, not nice stuff. I see it sometimes, but I think the way the world is now, you sort of have to try and develop a bit of a thicker skin to ignore it, because ultimately they're just people behind a keyboard or behind a phone and they're just typing, and 99% of these people wouldn't say the same stuff to your face. And that's the way I always look at stuff like that. I think that's the way a lot of professional footballers look at it, and I would imagine a lot of them don't actually read that sort of stuff anyway. So yeah, Brennan will be okay. He'll be all right. Just want to have a look at the final stats. So this is how the game went overall. 70% possession. Another game in which Tottenham have had 70% possession of the ball. The big issue is that stat underneath. Expected goals. Coventry, 1.73 expected goals from 30% possession. It brings that argument back into light. A lot of... When we were getting towards the end of our Mourinho and our Conte era, and we were having 30-40% of possession, but we were having expected goals like this, it was fine. And when it worked well, it worked well. And everyone was happy. Your issue, I guess, for if you're a team like Coventry or if you're a team that plays like this against Tottenham and don't score the goals, is then you're sat there thinking, well, we barely touched the ball and we barely created anything. You know, Coventry, 15 shots compared to Tottenham's 9. 3 big chances compared to Tottenham's 2. Look at the momentum of the game. It was a lot more even and a lot more balanced than it should have been. No offence to Coventry. No offence to Coventry. It was a lot more even than it should have been. So there are a lot of lessons to take from this game. A lot of lessons to take. I mean, Ange, there's an article here talking about, I'll see if the quotes are there quite quickly. Ange spoke in his press conference afterwards and he said this about the game. We just had to hang in there somehow, and we did. We weren't fluent or cohesive. So at least he's sitting there admitting that he knows that it wasn't a great performance, because sometimes he's come out and he said, we played really well, we dominated the game, but, we just couldn't find that bite in the final third. he's then said, I've consistently said there is no easy or quick fix to where we want to get to, and one result doesn't change that. So he's sort of sitting there and saying that it's taken time. It's going to take time, and I think that's fair. I think that's fair. Tonight we've showed what we've been missing the first 4 games, a little bit of spirit to fight our way and find a way to win a game of football, which I think is a very good point. We have been missing that in the first 4 games of the Premier League season. Just that ability and that desire to just get it done and win the game, even if things aren't going your way. We struggled with that against Newcastle. We struggled with that against Leicester. We struggled with that against Arsenal. But, the form table says it all. We're in a bad patch. We're in a bad patch at the moment, but we have to stay positive. We have to stay positive. I'm not saying that yesterday's performance was positive, but we have to stay positive. It's still so early in the season. It's September the 19th. Season finishes in May. So many games yet to come. So much still to play for. At the end of the day, we are still in the Carabao Cup. We are still in the Europa League. I know it hasn't started yet. We will be in the FA Cup. There's a lot still to play for. Johnson did score that goal as a sub last night. Again, performing off the bench. Yeah, I always say Brennan Johnson is better as an impact substitute. So yeah, we need to shoot more instead of waiting for 100% open goals before we shoot. Some good players like Kula, Son or Madison should shoot even if 30% chances. Agree. 100% agree. At the end of the day, we won the game of football. We're through to the next round. And we've got another game in 3 days' time. 3 days' time, or even 2 days' time at the point of doing this live stream. So focus will be straight onto Brentford, a team that we can beat at home. So we just have to stick in there, and hopefully we put in a good performance against Brentford, who are a good team. Tottenham should do like AFC Richmond and get a proper therapist, even though I feel like that's about therapists. Yeah. I think a lot of professional footballers probably need therapists for some of the stuff they go through during their careers. But look, I'm going to end it there because I feel like it's a good point to end. We won the game. We can be happy that we got through it. We showed a little bit of fight at the end. The substitutes worked. We got over the line even when we weren't at our best. And teams need to do that. We're not always going to be at our best at the end of the day. That is the big point. We are not always going to be amazing. We're not always going to be scoring 4 goals. We're going to struggle sometimes, and we did yesterday, but we still got the result, even if it was stressful for every single one of us watching. So we've got to retain the hope and the faith that we can push on and really hit the next level up because we need to. And once those goals start coming, hopefully the results do, the 3 points do, and we can push on as a team. But thank you so much, everybody that came along to the live stream today, and those of you that are watching after it's finished. Don't forget to like this video, and please subscribe to the channel if you're new around here. I appreciate every single one of you, and I love engaging with you on these streams and in the videos that I post. I will have a preview for the Brentford game out tomorrow at some point, so keep an eye on it. Really appreciate you guys tuning in the chat. You guys from South Africa, amazing. Love the support. Everybody else as well. Enjoy the rest of your week. I will catch up with you tomorrow.